Hey there. Today, I will be discussing a game that's near and dear to me, and often overlooked for some of its dated designs in favour of its more attractive family members. Devil May Cry. But first, a quick history lesson. Around the turn of the millennium, Capcom, the company responsible for some of the best games and franchises of yesteryear, began development on a sequel for their popular survival horror series, Resident Evil. This was to be the first of the series on the 6th generation of home gaming consoles, and was to be directed by Hideki Kamiya. What a lad. His unbreakable defenses aside, Kamiya is well known for directing some of the most stylish games in the last 2 decades. Formerly, as part of the now defunct Clover Studios, he and many members of Clover went on to work for Platinum Games, where they continue to make just the best things. Also, he voiced Godot in Ace Attorney 3 Trials and Tribulations. The truest of chads.
Objection!
Moving swiftly on, development of Resident Evil 4 was a long one, and direction was shifting from an atmospheric horror game and more towards a stylish and action-orientated game. As per the request of God himself, the main character, Tony, was meant to be an invincible superhuman who didn't afraid of nothing. Fixed camera angles, a series staple, were also dropped in favour of a more dynamic camera system. Obviously enough, Shinji Mikami, the producer for the series at the time, saw that this ain't horror, but still knew the team were onto something. They all had a talk, and agreed to cut loose what they had made from the Resident Evil series. Rewritten with the new prospects in mind, the game transformed from Resident Evil into what we know today as You play as Dante, the son of the demonic Kamen Rider villain known as Sparta. A long time ago, there was a disagreement between the entire human race and the demons of hell. Humans wanted to live. Demons disagreed. Your Pops was a high-ranking member of Hell's army and started getting sick of all the demonic politics. In an act of treason against his own kind, he defected to the human side and decided to fight the underworld alone. As it turns out though, he was a straight up baller and won. After that, he decided to rule the human world for a bit and ended up having 2 sons by a human woman, Dante and Virgil. Then one day he went off for a pack of cigarettes or something and never came back. The games haven't been super clear about that. Anyway, a couple of years later, Sparta's family home was attacked by demons seeking revenge. One of his sons, Dante, managed to hide and escape from the slaughter at the cost of his mother's life. Cut forward to over 20 years later, and Dante now runs a demonic hunting business when a woman that looks creepily like his dead mother shows up and starts breaking shit. After they peacefully solve this altercation, she offers him a job that could help him get revenge on the demons that killed his family. Dante accepts and sets off for the seemingly abandoned Malay Island. The core gameplay revolves around hacking, slashing and shooting everything from satanic Pinocchio dolls to gladiatorial lizardmen.
You win!
It really is the first of its kind. It's also widely considered to be the start of the action game subgenre, or alternatively, spectacle action fighter if you're British. At first, the gameplay will seem simple, and it is. This game has a lot of nuances to fighting monsters that the game really doesn't clue you in on. For example, if you're playing on normal mode, early on you will fight the Shadowcat mini-boss. It is a really tough enemy for new players. It's completely impervious to your sword swings, it's incredibly fast, and it does
A lot of damage!
But as it turns out, this enemy has a very specific weakness. If you keep a moderate distance from the cat and not attack it, it won't be as aggressive when attacking you. Eventually, the cat will reel its head back and shoot it forward like a spear. This is your chance. If you time a jump correctly, you can land safely on its head. In this position, the enemy is very vulnerable, and you are free to rain gunfire at it. If you're quick enough, the enemy will immediately go to their self-destruct phase. All you have to do now is survive. Just try not to get hit, because if you do...
Shadow wins. Fatality.
The cats aren't even the only enemy with weaknesses like this. The Sin Scissors can be one-hit killed with a shotgun blast after parrying one of their attacks with a sword swing of your own, which is a really cool feature that carried over into Devil May Cry 5 and is a core mechanic in many of the fights of Devil May Cry 5. But that's a whole other video. The game even gives you a nice incentive to replay it on harder difficulties. If you beat the game on hard, you unlock Sparta mode, where you get to play as Dante's daddy. He even comes with his own set of guns called Luce and Umbra instead of Ebony and Ivory, which is the same guns that Trish now uses. And he also starts off with the Yamato katana, the sword Virgil has been using throughout the series. You know, I really miss when games used to do this, when it rewarded you for beating a mode, instead of charging you for DLC. I digress. I could go on forever about Devil May Cry. And right now, I just want to give you my personal recommendation. Devil May Cry is near and dear to me. I grew up with it, and it was the first action game I've ever played. It still has its problems, like the underwater sections, but they're so short. And the game is so rich with atmosphere and heart, and many people decide to skip over it because they think it's not worth playing, and the series has moved on, which couldn't be further from the truth. If anything, Devil May Cry 5 shows that the roots is what made it, and there's so many callbacks and mechanical changes that reflect the first game that it really shows how much thought and effort was put in. On top of it, Devil May Cry 1 is a short game. When you know what you're doing, you can beat it in 3 hours. I did it on stream while getting footage for some of this video. So ultimately, this is my personal recommendation. Give Devil May Cry 1 a chance. You may just like it.